Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name's Luke Payson. As always, if you haven't liked or subscribed, please do so. First-time guest of the show is coming on. I'm always pumped to have first-time guests of the show. I also like returning guests of the show as well, and it's been fun to build up some relationships with fighters over years. But this is a first-time guest of the show, maybe a future guest of the show, hopefully. Seth Donovan, undefeated amateur MMA fighter, 2-0 is his record. Seth, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Luke.
Really excited to have you on the show. Like I said, you're an undefeated 2-0 amateur fighter. You've got a big fight coming up for 247 Fighting Championships, October 20th, which is going to be Brawl in the Burgh 18 at the Hollywood Casinos at the Meadows in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania. Very exciting to have you on that card. We're going to talk about that actually in a little bit. Let's first talk about what got you into MMA. What background did you have that made you interested in MMA? And what was that like prior to your first fight?
To be honest, I've always had an interest in MMA since I've been growing up. Like in high school, I wrestled all throughout middle school, youth, high school, everything. Was supposed to take it to the collegiate level, but with COVID hitting my senior year of high school, I decided not to because my freshman year of college, I'd have been just sitting behind a computer screen. And then I thought about going back my sophomore year, but it still wasn't normal yet. It was like a hybrid where it was like half online, half in person, and the season wasn't really there. And my only reason for going to college was to wrestle. And a lot of people don't really know that about me, that I was a wrestler in high school, but I've definitely had that as my main background and always been a part of that sport. But definitely growing up, like throughout high school, I've always told people I wanted to fight. I started training after my high school year, my senior year of high school a little bit. And then COVID hit and whatnot. And the gym I was training at, they wanted me to take a COVID test when I got sick. And I was like, not about that because I was kind of like against that in a sense. And I got away from it for like 2 years. And then all of a sudden it came back to me. And now it's just here.
It is indeed. You made your debut, your amateur debut in this calendar year. This will be your third fight in this calendar year. Maybe you'll end up with even one more, depending on how quickly you do a turnaround. But you made your debut in July and then fought again in September and now October. So that's actually back-to-back months. So congratulations to that. Really cool stuff. Let's talk about your unanimous decision win at Bayfront Brawl 13, which was back in July. That's up in Erie, if I remember right. If I know what that one is, I believe that's the area for it. What was it like making your debut?
Honestly, that was probably the best place I could have made an MMA debut. Being real local to my hometown is like a 45-minute drive. The amount of support I had come up there was crazy. Like I had no nerves, no nothing walking into that cage. But as soon as I heard everyone screaming for me, everything changed as soon as I got in that cage. And it was definitely a great opportunity to do it there.
Yeah, that really is great, and we're going to get to your second fight here in a little bit because you won it very quickly by strikes. But let's talk about the fact that you went the entire duration, which is 6 minutes, 3 2-minute rounds. What was it like to actually, even though everybody wants to finish quickly, to actually fight to a decision, to get more of that cage time, more of that experience, and to kind of figure out what's going to work for you in MMA?
Honestly, in PA, with the amateur rules they have, it's very hard to finish somebody unless you can knock them out cold on your feet or you go for a submission or something. But at that time, I wasn't really thinking submission. I was just having fun on the ground, just beating the dude's ribs up. Like, if you watch that fight back, you can see that guy's ribs, and they're bruised, they're beat. Like, he texted me the day after the fight, and he's like, damn, I felt like I got hit by a baseball bat over and over again. And it's just hard to, like, actually finish somebody on the ground in PA unless you have, like, that big jiu-jitsu side of it. And I just wasn't even thinking of using my jiu-jitsu. I was just having so much fun listening to people scream when I was hitting those ribs.
Well, sure. And there's 3 levels in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for fights. The pro level, which of course we all kind of know what that one looks like. Advanced amateurs, which to some people can look pro because they have bare shins, but there's still no head kicks or no elbows, but there is ground and pound, but not with elbows, just with closed fists. And then the novice, which you're in your last fight in Pennsylvania as a novice, which congratulations to you on that, because the novice rules to go from novice to advanced amateurs in Pennsylvania, you have to have 3 fights and at least a winning record of 2-1 or 3-0, which you're guaranteed to have because you're 2-0 right now. So that's actually really great for you. But something that will translate well to advanced amateur and then eventually pro is if you could control top position and do ground and pound, going from ribs to the face is an easy transition. So the fact that you worked that right away, I have personally, I think, only seen one novice amateur fight finished with ground and pound, and it was knees. You're allowed to land knees to the ribs, and so the guy got in like a cross body and was able to throw knees in to stop. But outside of that, it is very hard to finish. Well, speaking of finishing, you got a 38-second finish in your second fight. What set that up? What was that like for you? And was it a surprise when it happened? Because I know sometimes for fighters, knockouts can come so quickly that they're shocked that it even happened.
Well, that second fight was over in Ohio, so it was basically an advanced amateur fight. Everything
Right.
was allowed, and they screwed me on that because it was actually a 22-second TKO. They had it at 2 minutes and 38 seconds left and put it down as 38-second TKO, but it's actually 22 seconds. But it was just my wrestling is good and my ground and pound is good, and I was able to show it in like the body shots. Wasn't able to show it to the head, and I got the chance to show it. And after a few on the head, it just put him out cold.
Okay, gotcha. Well, of course, I appreciate the correction that it's 22 seconds. Congratulations on a blazing fast finish.
I
That
wish
hey,
they let
that
me.
matters. I'm excited for you. It also shows that, like you said, Ohio, their amateur rules are the advanced amateur rules in Pennsylvania. So it's cool that you've already fought at that level. Obviously, you'll have to rein yourself back in a little bit for this fight to still use the novice rules one last time. What are your thoughts coming into this fight? You're fighting Ethan Kenny, who's the more local Pittsburgh guy, who's a one-on-one guy, trains out of a gym that's very well known in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, and is going to have sort of that hometown feel, that hometown support behind him because he trains out of the Mat Factory, which is a big gym that puts a lot of fighters out. What are your thoughts on this fight coming up, specifically versus Ethan Kenny?
Honestly, I mean, he's definitely got a really good wrestling background. I've seen that. He wrestled for Connellsville and had a very good record there. And I believe he was a 3-time state medalist there, which is very solid. And that Mag Factory is a very good gym. I actually have a friend that used to train in Titusville. He's training down there at Mag Factory now. His name's Trent Zadarko. You probably heard of him.
Oh
So
yeah,
I kind
yeah.
of,
I've called a couple of his fights. Trent, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I was planning on going down there, which is funny. I was planning on going down there like 2 weeks ago. I was going to go down there for a week. And then I found out he trained there. I was like, well, that's probably not a good idea for me to go down there for a little sparring session or something like that. But no, that's a very good gym. They got some good fighters there, and we'll see what it's all about October 21st.
Yeah, absolutely. Trent Zadarko is one of their pro fighters. I pretty sure I called at least one of his pro fights and maybe an amateur fight before he went pro, something like that. But I've definitely called Trent Zadarko. The Mat Factor also has well-rounded fighters. The co-main event is a Mat Factor guy, Justin the General Patton. You might have known his name and then also Jake Lowry, who's a 185er who's undefeated in both amateur and pro. Hopefully, the Mat Factor has a great reputation. So after this fight's over, it would not surprise me if you ended up cross training down there. No matter what happens in the fight versus Ethan, hopefully it's a good connection. A lot of times we've seen that at the amateur level, fighters fighting and they end up helping each other and training and those type things because you want to help the other person. For you, you mentioned wrestling. The Mat Factory is known for wrestling. Is your confidence level there? And obviously you won't know till you're in there October 21st at Brawl in the Burgh 18, but is your confidence level that you can out wrestle him, even though he has his own wrestling pedigree and comes from a wrestling heavy gym?
Yes, 100%. Like, I'm not one to like really brag about anything like that, but like I believe like I can beat any amateur fighter right now at 145 pounds in Pennsylvania. Unless I get lucky, like strike to the head or something like that. I think I have the skills to be the best amateur fighter at 145, and I'm trying to show people that. Like, I took a fight July 29th, took a fight September 3rd, took a fight October 21st. I'm gonna have 3 fights within 3 months, and I plan on taking a 4th fight no matter what after this one in November.
Okay.
Hopefully, I win this fight and I get a bigger fight, but no matter what, I plan on taking at least one more fight before the end of the year and really put my name out there.
Well, that is a great attitude to have. I think as an amateur, that's really your best bet. Some amateurs take, let's say, 5 years to get 4 or 5 fights, fighting very infrequently. I think what you're doing is going to increase your experience level And that's what it's all about at the amateur level, to get in there, get the experience. 247 is having another card December. I know you're talking about November, but who
Yeah,
knows?
I'll do 5 fights in 5 months.
There you go. There you go. So we'll see how that works out. I know Jim Mooney, the head matchmaker for 247, is always looking, and they're already matching for the December 16th card, which is their end of the year card. So depending on what happens, sometimes fights fall through. I know 247 usually stays in contact with all the former fighters, win or lose. That that way there's a potential future opportunity. So you might not know, but the Meadows Casino, the Hollywood Casino at the Meadows, is kind of a preferred venue for a lot of the fighters for 247 because it's a loud crowd, it's very close and tight, and they only have events there twice a year because the event center you're going to be fighting in gets torn down in the wintertime. So this is the last event of the year. The way the Meadows Casino does it is they have 247 be the first event in there in April and the last event in there in October. So what are your thoughts on competing at kind of, and maybe you don't know this, but what are your thoughts on competing in a very loud, tight, jam-packed sort of casino atmosphere? It's a different atmosphere for sure.
Yeah, honestly, like you said, it's a Pittsburgh gym, so Ethan Kenny's going to have more of the support there and whatnot. But at the same time, I mean, I think it's still going to be fun atmosphere. Uh, like in Erie, the Bayfront Center where I fought at, it was kind of similar to this, I believe. Like it was a really close one, but the only difference was I had all those people there to watch me. Where this time I'm gonna have all those people there for him and not have much of a fan section there for me, just being like a 2.5 hour drive from me. Not gonna have as many people come. They're gonna be tuning in more on the live stream and whatnot. But from what I've seen, 247 seems to put together a very good uh like event. It seems like my buddy Logan Fink, my teammate, he fought there July 15th.
Yeah.
I think it was the Brawl in the Burgh 17, I believe.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It looked nice, and they offered me a fight, and why not take it?
Yeah, I remember Logan Fink. That was the first kind of double header in July where they did a Sprawl in the Burgh, which is a grappling event in the cage the night before, and then Brawl in the Burgh 17, which is the MMA, and you're a part of that as well in the sense that this event is now a Sprawl in the Burgh the night before, which is October 20th, Sprawl in the Burgh 2, and then Brawl in the Burgh 18 the next day. Super exciting to watch this. The Mat Factory produces high talent. Obviously, you're a high talent. Like you said, you're competing at 145 and you want to take as many fights and kind of see where you are at the 145-pound division. It's a great division in amateurs. There's already 247 has a great champ and undefeated 5-0 Lucas Siebert, who's actually grappling the night before. Does that name mean something to you? The champ, you smile.
Yeah, I mean, to be the best, you got to beat the best, and he's clearly the best in the state right now for a reason. And if I go in there and I put on a good performance October 21st, I would love to have a match against him, either Sprawl in the Burgh or anything. Like to be the best, you have to beat the best. And I know he's a very good, well-rounded, like wrestler, pretty good striker, like jiu-jitsu. He's got everything coming along his way, but like I just have to, like, if I want to be the best, I have to go for the best. And that's kind of like who I'm aiming for before he turns pro. I'd like to get in the cage with him for sure.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And that's one of the things that I like about interviewing winners. Like I do the post fight interviews. And so that gives you an opportunity. And, sometimes people call out specific and maybe you'll call him out. Sometimes people don't. Sometimes people make a different statement, but you'll definitely have the opportunity if you get the win to say what you want on the mic. And I love that mindset and that attitude. It's been really fantastic having you on the card. And I know Jim Mooney, the head matchmaker for 247, is always expanding the gyms, like the number of gyms that fight. Obviously, you said that your gym's been represented once before, but it's also cool to see, even though it's 2.5 hours away, that's in the area where your gym could potentially fight pretty often for 247. And that's what's kind of exciting about that.
Yeah, there's one thing. I'm actually moving next Monday. I'm flying out. My buddy Logan Fink, me and him are both moving. We're moving out to Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh gosh.
So
Okay.
I'm gonna be flying out on Monday, and I'll be flying back the following Monday. But I'm gonna be out there at the MMA lab, really putting in the work and really watching myself progress. Like, and I think that's really gonna jump my levels, getting out there and focusing on this. Like, I want to make this a living off this. Like, this is my goal, is to make this a living type thing. So after this fight, I'll be fully moved out to Phoenix, Arizona, and I'll still fly back whenever people ask me to come fight. Like, I'll still fight in Pennsylvania. I'll fly back, no issue. Like, but I won't be fighting. I'll still fight under Sonic, and
Sure.
that's still gonna always be the gym I'll fight under if I'm in PA fighting. Like, I love that gym and everything, but my coach there, Ben, he knows that like me and Logan have like really big goals for this, and in order to do that, we got to really surround ourselves with people that have the exact same goals as us, you know. So after this fight, I'll be making a 30 some hour drive across the country to start a new life of fighting.
Wow, that is huge news. I appreciate you sharing that. So you're going to fly out there this coming week, and then you're going to be back for the fight. And then after the fight, you're driving to live out there permanently.
Yes,
Gotcha.
I was supposed to drive out October 9th, and then I was supposed to originally flight October 28th in Ohio again. But that fight was like, they were kind of saying I was like on a backup fight, like they already had fights, but if one fell through, they'd get me on it. And then we got a hold of 247, like, hey, we can get you a fight. And it's like, we just took the fight because I wanted another fight before I fought again in November. And as long as everything goes well, no injuries, no nothing, I'll step in that cage again, win or lose. But yeah, I plan on being as active as I can, and even living out in Arizona, I still want to fight here because it's where my family is. Like, I want to come back and I want to keep showing people what I do and whatnot.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And I love the commitment out of you and your teammate, Logan Fink, to make that move to Arizona. It also gives me an opportunity to say I'd love to continue to follow your career, particularly once you get out to Arizona and get around, the MMA lab and start taking fights out there probably at some point, plus Logan. And I'm always also open to bring anybody on to MMA Finkcast to talk about the up and coming. And MMA Lab has a lot of fighters, so spread the word. That might be a great connection for me to start interviewing MMA Lab fighters in the future. It's been really great having you on. I say that for all first-time fighters because I want to see like a pattern, where I can follow you throughout your duration. You've got a great mindset, a real eager desire to learn and compete, and can't wait to hopefully have you on after the fight you get the win. I try to bring the winners on, and I look forward to interviewing you afterwards if you do win. Can't wait for, you mentioned pay-per-view, so I just want to plug that. Go to 247fighting.com to for your friends and family to sign up for pay-per-view, and they need to make sure that they click your name to get credit as the fighter that they're there to watch, because that ends up helping you. It's been really great having you on the show.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to be speaking to you October 21st after the fight.
Yeah, that would be, well, we'll see what happens, but that's one of the things I love about my role, cage side, is I get to interview the happy fighter at the end. And sometimes, sometimes you can't always, not everybody can be happy at the end of a fight. But really appreciate you coming on. You've been listening to Luke Basin with MMA Fancast. Please like and subscribe. And first time guest of the show, Seth Donovan. Congratulations, Seth, on starting out your career 2-0. Can't wait to see what happens. Brawl in the Burgh 18 247 Fighting Championships at the Meadows, Hollywood Casino at the Meadows. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
You got it.